Does it make me petty that I took great joy in watching the Yankees collapse last night? Yes. Yes, it does. Does that bother me? No. No, it doesn't. The New York Yankees World Series dreams are over as the trophy is making its way back to the West Coast with the LA Dodgers winning now for the second time in 5 years. And it is interesting how one kind of legitimizes the other. We talked about this a little bit when the Tampa Bay Lightning went on their run, where they had all these kind of near misses, right? Like, that they would go and I guess not a near miss means it would hit you, but you know what I mean? That they had all these, they came very close a few times and lost in a conference final, lost in this. And it's like, right up until the point you win, these are all examples of, just can't win the big one. And then you win one, and it's like, oh, wow, look at all these great things that they've done. Instead of, they went to the conference finals a couple times. It's like they won and they went to the conference finals a couple of times. And with the Dodgers, it was, they've been to the LCS and the World Series a bunch, and they won one, but it was a fake one, right? It was in the bubble, it was in Texas, who cares? And now they win this one, and it's like, 2 World Series in 5 years. They've been to the League Championship Series a bunch of times, been to the World Series a few more times. What an unbelievable era for Dodger baseball. And it's just how one year can just change the perception of everything. But first, from a Dodger standpoint, I mean, this was ultimately the goal. When you go out and get Shohei Ohtani and spend all of that money in the future to go out and get the best player in baseball, you do it for these exact reasons. And you put together these super teams for these exact reasons, so that when Shohei's arm explodes, you can still have Freddie Freeman go out there and have one of the best World Series in sports history. And I think the big thing here, not to overreact to too much coming out of this World Series, but I think the big thing that I'm taking away, and I actually kind of enjoy it, forget Moneyball. Big Moneyball is back. Baseball has always been the land of the let's just throw a bunch of money at our problems and let's make it go away. And then for a little bit there, it was, it's Moneyball. We got to be analytics and we have to do this and we have to, really the best thing to do is to spend it on this. And then the Cleveland baseball team at the time came out with the wins per dollar spent or something like that, which is just like the biggest, eat a pile of shit. Now, I'm just happy that it's like, no, you know what? Teams that spend money win championships. And I get that this is not how I operate in real life at all, but for some reason, just the stone cold capitalist comes out of me when we're talking about a sport that doesn't have a salary cap. And I can already hear the counterpoints to this, right? And look, I grew up a Blue Jays fan. And so I got the thing on today. And so the thing that you would always hear is, what about the small market teams? What about these the Blue Jays, for example, they bring all their money in Canadian dollars, but then they have to go out and spend it in American dollars. And what about how are these small markets, like the Oakland Athletics? How can the Oakland Athletics or the Minnesota Twins possibly keep up with all of these big market teams that can just spend all of this money? And the thing I have to say to all of that, after 34 years, almost 35 now, of watching this fantastic sport, is deal with it. Because every Major League Baseball team, according to Forbes, entered this season with a valuation of $1 billion. So, spare me the woe is me. How could we possibly afford to do this? Because you're a goddamn billionaire and you just can. I am so sick of, we can't, what do you expect us to do? Just do this? Just go out and spend this much money on these teams? Yeah, you are not entitled to a sports franchise. In the 4 major North American sports, there are, 124 teams? That's it. That's all you get. 124 teams out of 4 major sports. And we are really stretching to include the NHL in there. It is not a right. It is not a privilege. It is not a right to have one of these things. It is a privilege to have one of these things. And for far too long, it has been, how could we possibly keep up? How can we spend this money? There should be a barrier of entry to get into this. And part of that, in the just stone cold economic realities of the world, is that part of that is you gotta spend some money, man. And in baseball, that's just part of it. Went on Forbes' site for the franchise valuations coming into the 2024 season. The lowest team on the franchise valuation was $1 billion for the Miami Marlins, and their revenue was about $250 million. So you know what? If you are crying poor, how can we keep up with these big market teams? Figure it the fuck out, because you're a owner of $1 billion franchise who is bringing in $250 million a year. You should be able to figure out how to put a team on the field that has a salary of more than $30 million a season. So is it annoying when the Dodgers can go, oh, they just went out and bought a championship? Yeah, they fucking did because they can. You go out and get Shohei Ohtani. Oh, well, look at all the money they're spending. Shohei Ohtani broke Fanatics in 48 hours. And they don't even care if the shit they're selling is good. But they still ran out of jerseys. There's no quality control on that. They just wrote Ohtani on a piece of paper, glued a couple of them together, sold it as a jersey, and they still ran out of that. So when you bring in these things, did you see how packed Yankee Stadium was the last 3 nights? Did you see how packed Dodger Stadium was the 2 nights before that and throughout the postseason? Very few of those people got in for free, and I'm going to say most of them paid probably triple digits to get there, at least triple digits to get there. So sometimes there's an investment in these sorts of things, and you spend the money. And yes, the Shohei thing down the road is insane, and it's kind of funny. You made that back probably, if you're the Dodgers, in what, a week and a half? That happened, like if he would have come to Toronto, I had 3 jerseys ready to be bought. I had a Shohei Japanese jersey. I had and just every Blue Jays jersey he was going to wear, I was going to get. And I am not in the financial position to be doing that. This is one of the harsh realities of sports that I think for too long we have been sold that it's, well, how can these small market teams keep up? Last time I checked, my guy, $1 billion ain't small market. So spare me with all of that. There is a price to be good, especially in Major League Baseball. And if you do not pay it, you just kind of fade away. And so that's why I have no sympathy for the Oakland A's owner. Or it's like, well, how could we, what do you want us to just sign these guys? Yeah, I fucking want you to just sign these guys. Because you just traded away like an all-star team that probably would have been competitive the last couple of years. Also, you do still, it's not just spend big money, win big championships. The Yankees have been spending a lot of money. Now, they haven't been spending it the same way they used to. But the Yankees have been spending a whole lot of money for a long time now. And this was their first trip back to the World Series in 15 years. And they still haven't won one in 15 years. The Angels have spent so much money, and they've won jack shit. So it is not just throw a bunch of money at things to make your problems go away, and you just reap the rewards of championships. You still have to do things right. You still have to find those diamonds in the rough. You still have to find the Max Muncies of the world. You still have to find these... for the Yankees, you still have to get the Volpes to have that work. The Austin Wells have to come up with big hits in those big situations. You have to draft and develop Walker Buehler, and before that, Clayton Kershaw. And they've made some mistakes along the way. They traded Yordan Alvarez for a relief pitcher. They have not been perfect, but there is still a art to having a team that has that big of a salary. And it does give you a little bit of a margin for error there for sure. But like the Blue Jays had the 7th highest payroll in baseball last season, and they got their teeth kicked in for 162 games and then got the privilege of sitting and watching these games on the network that owns them. Like, you still have to spend that money appropriately to be successful. So it is not just, they just bought a championship. Look what they did. Yeah. They went out and acquired 3 future Hall of Famers. That helps. That really does help. I would suggest the Yankees had 3 future Hall of Famers on their team. I think Stanton probably gets into the Hall of Fame. Hey, either way, we can make a case. Stanton or Cole plus Judge plus Soto are going to be in the Hall of Fame, and they just got their asses kicked in these games, right? Like they weren't even close in game 3, and they just fumbled the bag away in game 4 or in game 5 here. So it is not just, oh, well, they just threw their money at that. How can these teams do that? Figure out the smart ways to spend your money and actually go out and do it. I am so tired of the, oh, well, it's February and half these guys haven't really signed. And then Jordan Montgomery signs with like a day left in spring training and their owner shits on him for not being ready. Like, just pay him sooner. Go out and actually spend money and actually go out and try to make your teams better. Baseball is the last sport where you get to do that. And so just do it, man. I have no sympathy anymore for these small market whatever when every team's worth $1 billion. If you can't put out a competitive product when your franchise is worth $1 billion, sell it. You probably sell it for two. I know that's like not supposed to be how valuations work, but hey, seller's market right now, my guy. Because again, if you wanted a baseball team, you only got 30 cracks at it. So who is going to turn their nose up at the Miami Marlins? Probably not many. So if you can't do it, find someone else who can and let this thing just kind of keep rolling. Because this is, I think, what it is going to be now. I don't think the Yankees are going anywhere. I think the Mets are going to be spending like madmen. The Dodgers probably aren't going anywhere. I hope the Blue Jays do this now as well and start to open those things up a little bit, because this is baseball, and we can try to pretend that, oh, it's sweet, look at what the Tampa Bay Rays do. You know where the Tampa Bay Rays spend a shitload of money. They just do it all on the analytical side of things, and maybe that's not the best way of going about it. And now I think we have finally seen that there might be an upper bound limit on what they can do. Right? And the Moneyball thing, there was an upper bound limit on that, and we can throw it away as, oh, well, it's luck, it's variance, it's how these things go. But I have no problem with teams trying to be creative with analytics and all of those things. But at the end of the day, man, like you are going to have to spend money to put a competitive baseball team out there. And so for at least 1 year, I'm happy that the big guys finally won. A couple of notes here in the chat. Deeds. We overpay Rogers for TV, internet, and phones. They can overpay for players. Dude, yeah. 100%. Like they just paid me to not work there for a while. So like they got money. They can figure that stuff out. I'll go back to when I go in on Friday, I'll work on a typewriter if it means the Jays get Juan Soto. So yeah. Exactly. Toxic. Congrats to Canadian baseball legend Freddie Freeman on winning the MVP. That was like the undisputed best story of the World Series, right? And you have all of the, not just the Canadian part of it, which we can all have a good chuckle at, but is a fantastic way to honor his late mother. But the home runs in all of these games, and he's just like, he is giving everything he has. And that is the other part of the, oh, they just throw money at it, who cares? It's like, man, tell Freddie Freeman that. Like, this guy is walking around on one leg that, like, his ankles exploded, and he's still out here hitting bombs in the World Series. And Mookie Betts, they've been doing this thing since February, and he's laying it out down the first baseline, starting a rally that leads to the Dodgers winning the World Series. So again, you still have to pay it on the right guys, but yeah, Freddie Freeman, unbelievable, man. Love it. Love every minute of it. What Freddie Freeman was able to do. Like, I've never been a big Dodgers fan. And there was part of me, again, this aspect of it, when we thought Shohei was coming to Toronto and he's on the plane and it ends up being the Dragon's Den guy or whatever. And or Shark Tank or whichever one he's on. And then he goes to the Dodgers, and it's like, man, fuck the Dodgers. Like, because I fell into it too. Just big money team getting to spend whatever they want to bring that guy in. And then you watch this team for a second. It's like, man, a lot of likable dudes there. You know, like Mookie, how can you cheer against Mookie? Freddie Freeman, nicest guy in the world. Shohei Ohtani, have you seen his dog? Sweet. Like all those, Max Muncy, it's a cool story. No one knew who he was like 3 years ago, and then he was the most dangerous hitter in baseball for a while. Teoscar Hernandez hasn't stopped smiling in like 8 years. Like this is a remarkably likable team. And so I was like, yeah, I'll get a Dodgers hat, maybe. I can get behind this team. So yeah, they're a pretty fun one. Those two that grab bets should never be allowed into another Major League Baseball stadium again. Yeah, that whole story was wild. Like the audacity to just do something like that, right? To just like grab into a guy's glove, pull out the ball, and it's like, hey man, I got it. Like, that's ridiculous. That's insane. How are you doing that? Like, how do you think that's a rational human being thing to do? Like, this isn't 1954 where there was one black and white camera that was zooming in poorly and all this shit. There's cameras everywhere. This thing's being broadcast in like 8,000 different languages. 9 of them don't even exist yet. And you're thinking you're going to get away with some shit like that. And then the whole, well, the Yankees, like they told him to leave, but then they told him to come back. And okay, well, I guess you can't come back, but we'll reimburse you for your seats and stuff like that. It's like, hey, you guys have to realize, like, that was insanity, right? Like, that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life that someone attempted to do. How do you think that's a good thing to try to do? I don't understand. So, yeah, just banana, man. Just absolutely banana that was a thing that happened. Yeah, those two guys banned for life from anything associated with Major League Baseball or the Yankees.